Strong Opinion Sports is powered by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 583. Welcome in. I am doing much better. Not 100% just yet. I am still probably one more day away. But I think going into, really what I want to be is 100% going into next week. I am praying, please, Lord, can I have a normal week for once? I just want a normal week where I can have a normal schedule, not feel sick, go for my morning walk, be working out again. I am excited to be back, kind of get going at 100%. And this weekend is going to be incredible. We've got Oregon hosting Colorado, Ohio State at Notre Dame, Mississippi at Alabama. I think we're going to do a special college football only episode Saturday night. It's going to be a massive week of NFL football and college football. And man, I just am excited to be back. I think at 100% going into the weekend. I want to say thank you to you guys out there. I got a phone call this morning, and when my guy, his name is literally Guy, when Guy calls me, he's the guy who secures my sponsorships. I answer immediately. I love him. He's the only person, I've got Do Not Disturb on 24/7. He's one of the very few people who has got a pass through my Do Not Disturb, or his ringer still comes through. And he called with a new sponsor for next week, and they are sponsoring the show. They're going to be the headlining sponsor for the rest of the entire year, which is a massive, rest of football season, so through January. And that's a massive deal. I'm very excited about that. That is partially because of you guys. I love you. I appreciate you. I will say I've been really sick. I didn't do anything yesterday. I was useless. The one thing I did do between Tuesday night and yesterday morning, I watched Avengers Endgame once again. And I love comic books. I like where the comics have gone, even the movies have gone even after Endgame. I like Quantumania, but I feel like I'm the only person. But I will say, if you're a person who needs a reminder, Avengers Endgame, I get why people don't like it. I understand, but that movie in particular, wow. It made me feel nostalgic. It reminded me of being in the theater with my dad watching it. And the writing is good. The effects are incredible. I mean, there's moments in that movie I'm like, oh, yes, I love that. I really was reminded. It made me feel good. It was a pick-me-up I needed during a kind of a brutal week. I've been so sick. I did very little the last 2 days. It was horrible. Anyway, we're back. Let's go. Let's jump in. We got football I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders fans want to hear their offense get some love. And I get it. They're 2-0. They scored 35 points in week 2 during a comeback win over Denver. I understand why Washington fans want their team to get love on the offensive side of the football. And part of it's because Washington did not score 35 points in an entire game last year, not once. So their offense in week 2 did something that their offense didn't do all of last year. I understand the excitement. Sam Howell, their quarterback, was 1 yard shy of 300 yards passing, had 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers against Denver. I understand the excitement from the fans. They need hope. It's a tough world out there. Everyone needs something to look forward to if you're a Washington fan. I get it. I really do. Personally, I still think I'm kind of in a mode of waiting to see what happens with Washington and their offense. They had a great week 2. We'll know more by week 7, really how good they are and where they stand. A lot of people, like I said, were kind of frustrated I didn't cover that more heavily, and I think it's just because I'm going to wait and see what they turn into, because I don't want to overreact to one game, and we'll see what happens. The next 2 games for Washington, they play Buffalo and then Philly. And hey, if you win those games or have a great offensive performance in those games, I will be shouting from the mountaintops how great Washington's offense looks, even if they lose. I've said regularly, Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell, they don't need to win games. They need to show they can score points. If they score a lot of points and lose football games, that's good with me, honestly. But we're going to learn a lot about the Washington Commanders offense in the next 2 weeks. And I promise, when I am ready to give them praise, I will. But I'm just we'll wait and see. But I will say to Commanders fans out there, I heard you loud and clear. You felt like I didn't give your team enough shine after beating Denver, and I understand that. And so, you know what? Hey, well done. Great job week 2, but let's see. I am in a positive mode towards Washington, but waiting to see what happens as they play really 2 tough football teams in the next 2 weeks. And if they do well in those games, then you will have my admiration and respect. It's worth noting, by the way, they play Buffalo next in week 3, and Washington has a really good defensive line, and I see a lot of parallels between the defense in Washington with a great defensive line, a young corner who can make plays, and had a bunch of interceptions in college. That's what Washington has, and that sounds a lot like New York with the Jets. A great defensive line and Sauce Gardner at corner. A lot of people made fun of the draft pick that Washington made at corner in the first round. I was like, let's wait and see. He had a pick against Denver, and I have an open mind, man. I really want to see them do well. And, Josh Allen against a defense built very similar to Washington against the Jets week 1, had 3 interceptions and a fumble, so 4 total turnovers. And as you get pressure on a quarterback, your accuracy dips down a little bit, declines just slightly, and you start making decisions you wouldn't normally make because you're trying to get rid of the ball quicker to avoid a sack and avoid a hit. So I am curious if Washington's defense this weekend can get pressure on Josh Allen and make a lot of plays happen where Josh Allen's doing dumb stuff. We've seen Josh Allen make a lot of critical errors and play a bit like Brett Favre at times where he'll throw a ball into triple coverage and you're like, what are you doing, son? It's not there. And I'm open to Washington. I really want to see them compete their butts off and play well against Buffalo this weekend. But it is a moment where Washington's offense, Eric Bieniemy, Sam Howell, their defense, they got a lot to prove in my opinion. They're 2-0. That's a great start for them. But we'll see. And I'm hoping Washington can grab my attention and grab my respect this weekend in NFL Week 3. All right, we got a lot of news stories I want to cover today. Before we do that, we'll talk about a big trade that happened. We're going to talk about a surprising story, actually, in Chicago. And then a player got suspended. Before we do any of that, though, we got to pay the bills. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options from spreads, player props, overs and unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. And kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Hope is here. First online, real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling helpline ma.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. All right, we are back. We got a couple news stories we got to talk about. Number 1, the Rams have traded running back Cam Akers to Minnesota. Last year, Cam Akers was the Rams' starting running back. He had 188 carries for 786 yards, 7 touchdowns. And this year, he was completely outperformed and replaced by second-year running back Kylen Williams. In the trade, the Rams got a 2026 conditional 6th-round pick. Minnesota got Cam Akers and a conditional 2026 7th-round pick. And, there's not a lot to be said here. I don't really think Cam Akers is the solution to all the problems with Minnesota's running game. They are last in rushing, though. They need to get anything going they can, and all the help they can get certainly doesn't hurt Minnesota, but we'll see. We'll see about this. I think Cam Akers now is the new starting running back in Minnesota, and good for them. But, Alexander Madison, the name who reminds me of, it sounds like a 1700s political figure in, colonial America. But Alexander Madison is the running back, or was the running back in Minnesota. He's going to now be splitting time with Cam Akers. We'll see how quickly it takes for Cam Akers to get on the field and start making an impact. I don't know how much he's going to play this weekend because it's hard to come in on literally a Wednesday and then immediately, so he's probably getting there today, Thursday, and learning the playbook, trying to get ready. I doubt he plays Sunday. We'll see, maybe a snap or two. But I think the move is to try to make Cam Akers the number 1 running back in Minnesota, and we'll see how that works out. I'm not super hopeful. There's a reason why he got replaced in LA, but for Minnesota, with nothing else really going on at running back, not a terrible move for them. Now, I've got a very weird story. We're going to talk about Chicago for 2 topics in a row. We're going to talk about their defensive coordinator, then we're going to talk about their quarterback a little bit, because the Bears have been in the news a ton, which is not great. 2 games into the year, Bears defensive coordinator Alan Williams has resigned, which is it's kind of weird. You don't normally see that. 2 games into a year, a coach just steps away. It makes me wonder what else is going on. Let me read you this statement Alan Williams put out. He said, "It is with great regret that I tender my resignation as a defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears Football Club, effective immediately. I am taking a step back to take care of my health and my family. I appreciate the opportunity to work with the Chicago Bears, a storied NFL franchise with a rich history. The McCaskey family is first class and second to none. I would also like to thank Coach Matt Eberflus and General Manager Ryan Poles for giving me the opportunity to come to Chicago. I would also like to thank President Kevin Warren, the coaches and players of which I value the relationships and camaraderie. I value the NFL Shield and all that it stands for, and after taking some time to address my health, I plan to come back and coach again. Sincerely, Coach Alan V. Williams." There's a lot left unanswered in that. It's really rare to walk away after 2 games in a season. It just doesn't really happen. He doesn't really specify, is it physical health? Is it mental health? That is his private business. That it doesn't really matter for us, but it's also... It could be totally not true. I mean, I don't want to, I hate saying that, but it's such a good defense that if you're walking away for health reasons, it could be just that's what he's saying, because we did hear that he stepped away from the team last week, apparently. Matt Eberflus took over the defensive play calling duties. We don't really know what's been going on behind the scenes. Was he frustrated? Was he not? More likely, is there something going on with him that he's got to deal with? But either way, it's a weird thing. You don't normally see a coach 2 games into an NFL season, tender their resignation to an NFL team. And it's worth noting that the Bears defense does not look good. This doesn't help, I think. I'm not really sure. But if indeed it is what is likely, which is some kind of physical health problem, I wish Alan Williams the very best. I will say, this is, again, I'm uncomfortable because it's a bit messed up, but if I was having a problem and unhappy and needed to step away and needed a great reason, I would just say, hey, struggling with my health? And that kind of is just an out. No matter what's going on, no one's going to question that. And I don't mean to be that guy questioning that. I kind of am. But my point is, we have no idea what's going on with Alan Williams. And that's interesting. And Chicago right now, a lot of weird stuff's happening in Chicago. The coaching staff, the quarterback. I want to share a quote from Justin Fields, the Chicago Bears quarterback. This is what Justin Fields said he didn't like about his performance last week during NFL Week 2. It's a long quote, about a minute long, and there's another part I want to share afterwards, but listen to this quote from Justin Fields.
Of course, things that I didn't like, I felt like, I wasn't necessarily playing my game. I felt like I was kind of robotic and, not playing like myself. So, my goal this week is just to, say F it and just go out there and, play football how I know how to play football. And that's not, that includes thinking less and just going out there and, playing off of instincts rather than just so much, so to say, info in my head, data in my head, and literally just going out there playing football. I mean, just going back to it's a game, and that's it, because that's when, I play my best is I'm just out there playing free and being myself. So I'm going to say kind of just bump all the, what I should do, what I, this and that, pocket stuff, I'm going to go out there and be me. So, yeah.
So Justin feels like he hasn't been playing like himself. And then he was asked by a reporter, what's causing all the info in your head? Here is how he responded to that.
could be coaching, I think. But at the end of the day, it makes it, they're doing their job when they're giving me, what to look at and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I, can't be thinking about that when the game comes. I prepare myself throughout the week, and then when the game comes, it's, it's time to play free at that point. So, just thinking less and, playing more.
Wow. Coaching. Next, he was asked, are there too many coaching voices in your head?
I don't think it's too many coaching voices, but I just think when, you're fed a lot of information at a point in time and you're trying to think about that info, like when you're playing, it's like it doesn't let you play like yourself. You're trying to, process so much information to where it's like, if I just simplified in my mind, I would have did this. Like I saw a few plays on Sunday to where if I was playing like my old self, like we would have had a positive play. Like there would have been, a few more third down conversions. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is just, playing the game how, I know how to play it, how I've been playing it my whole life. So that's what I got to get back to doing.
So he said, I'm not playing like myself, bit robotic, and there's a lot of maybe an overload of information going on in his head. I don't love any of that. I worry this means that Justin Fields is starting to not trust his coaches, which is not great. He has been playing badly. Let's all acknowledge that. Not pulling the trigger on throws that were open. That's a huge problem. And it does make sense. You prepare the best you can during the week, but in a game, you can't be overcomplicating stuff and trying to think about too many things all at once. I mean, that is a quarterback's job, is to think about a lot of stuff. It's literally, quarterback is the most complicated, most difficult position in all of football. But I think what he was saying is that, there was a receiver wide open down the seam, and he didn't throw the ball and took a sack. That's the kind of stuff where, like, Justin Fields in college makes that throw 10 out of 10 times. He's doing stuff that's uncharacteristic of him because he's just trying to process all this other stuff, and he's got all this noise going on. And I understand, I think what he's trying to say, but it does come across like coaching is not helping him. And, it's true. There was a lot of things to think about when you play the quarterback position. To me, none of this is good. Your defensive coordinator resigned. Your young quarterback sounds like he's going to start doing his own thing. I've got no idea if that's going to be a good thing or lead to a disaster. Although, Justin Fields is playing so badly right now that, frankly, it can't get worse. Maybe this makes it better. I'm not really sure. Also, Justin is very aware of the media kind of breathing down his neck and paying attention to everything it does. Does this answer need to be shared at all? It sounds like him trying to get some support maybe from the fans a little bit, because if you weren't worried about how fans viewed you, you wouldn't say any of this stuff. And one thing that feels very clear is that Justin is not being managed very well by the coaching staff. That's clear to me. They're not helping him do well. And it sounds like Justin almost views the feedback his coaches are giving him as an obstacle rather than a thing that's helpful. And, great coaches put their players in a position to be successful and give them confidence. And every player is unique. Now, Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator in Chicago, most recently coached Aaron Rodgers. I would imagine you can't coach Aaron Rodgers the same way you would Justin Fields, and maybe that's what's happening here. I'm not sure. But a lot of bad stuff's going down in Chicago. On top of that, their left tackle, Braxton Jones, is on the IR right now with a neck injury. Chicago is a mess. It's really bad. It's been a bad start to the year. Justin Fields' development is the number one most important thing in Chicago. I'm very worried that it's going poorly. Chicago's got this young, talented quarterback. That should be the focus. And I'm really worried that Chicago hired the wrong guy. When they hired Matt Eberflus in 2022 to be their head coach, he was the Colts defensive coordinator previously. He's a defensive-minded head coach. I think Matt Eberflus is like a good dude, comes across well, and might be a good coach with, like, Tampa, with Baker Mayfield as his quarterback, an established veteran quarterback. I think Matt Eberflus might be the right guy. But when you got a young quarterback you're trying to develop, that's the focus. That's the number one most important thing you have going for your entire organization. I don't care how good your head coach is at coaching defenses, which, by the way, right now doesn't look very good. But when you hire an offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, who used to work with Aaron Rodgers, was the quarterback coach in Green Bay, kind of unproven. I don't view him as like an offensive genius. He's the guy working closely with your quarterback week to week. That's a problem. It's not going well. And when you hire, I guess let me back up. When you have a young quarterback, nothing else matters in your organization if your quarterback isn't good. You have to develop your young quarterback. We saw this go down with Zach Wilson in New York with the Jets. They hired Robert Saleh, a defensive head coach, a coach I love, a great defensive coach. He's the man. I'd play for him in a heartbeat. And he built a good defense in New York. But the problem is they had a second-rate offensive coordinator who didn't develop Zach Wilson the way he needed. They got rid of Michael Fleur. He left. And right now they're trying again with, what is his name? Nathaniel Hackett, trying to work with Zach Wilson. But if the number one most important thing in your football organization is developing your young quarterback, you should hire a head coach that works directly with the quarterback. You should have your best coach working on the most important thing in your organization, your young quarterback. Matt Eberflus is a defensive head coach. I'm really, really, really worried they hired the wrong head coach here, and it's going to screw up Justin Fields completely. I am praying that if they get rid of Matt Eberflus after this year, if they move on, they still are going to be able to somehow save Justin Fields because he's so talented. He can do stuff running the football that no other quarterback simply can do. But we are seeing Justin Fields in the first 2 weeks of this year taking a step backward. Missing throws, not pulling the trigger on throws that are wide open. It's a big concern. And I am beyond worried about Chicago. Their defensive coordinator left. Their left tackle's on the injured reserve. Their quarterback is saying all kinds of stuff that is like, this is really, I don't know what to make of it. It isn't good. I don't know that it's inherently bad. And we'll see. Like he's saying, I've got a lot of feedback going on. I want to just focus on what I can do and block out the noise. But what's awful is he's saying that about his own coaching feedback. His own coaches he views as noise he needs to block out. It's all bad. It's really bad. And I'll tell you a story. When I was I had two offensive coordinators in my football career that I didn't really like. One was a coach that I liked a lot as a person. Like he was like this is my senior year of high school. We got my quarterback coach and offensive coordinator did so well. He got hired as a head coach after my junior year. So he went to another high school. He went to LaSalle High School in Milwaukee, Oregon. So my our offensive line coach became my quarterback coach, and it was new for me. I'm like, I got a new quarterback coach, and he used to work with offensive linemen, and I liked him as a person. He was literally my drawing teacher, but him and we didn't operate very well together, and it was clunky, and he was yelling at me the way you yell at an offensive lineman, and I'm sorry, but I just don't want to be talked to that same way, and I'm a different person, and personality-wise, we butted heads, and I've always felt bad about that because like a lot of it was my immaturity, but the point is we weren't a great fit together. Then later when I was in college, I had an offensive coordinator that, and not only was he a guy that I didn't love his system and him and I didn't vibe like when it came to the offense, but I didn't like him as a person. I really didn't like him. He annoyed the living daylights out of me. His values were values I didn't think were right, and it was very weird, and we just did not get along, and I really didn't like him. And I tried to suppress it, and I tried to overlook it, but it didn't work. And what I'm trying to say here is that when you try to coach yourself without the help of your coach, it's really bad, and it's really difficult. When you don't trust the guy who's giving you feedback week to week, and you don't trust the coach who's supposed to be leading you and helping you run the offense, that's a big problem. And I've had that happen to me twice in my career. I think some of that was my immaturity and my lack of, I thought I knew better. And some of that was my second time in college when I got that offensive coordinator I didn't like. I don't think I was immature. I think I'd been through a lot. My brother had died, had been to multiple colleges. I'd had a long personal journey to grow, and I just didn't like him or his values or his approach to the game. And it was a massive, massive problem. And I had to work on my own a lot to learn the offense because what he was doing just didn't work for me. And I guess what I'm saying is I know from a perspective of, when you don't trust the coach coaching you, it's really hard to do well, and it's really hard to succeed. I think that's what's going on with Justin Fields. I see major red flags and warning signs going on in Chicago, and I think we're hearing kind of the signal warnings from Justin Fields is like, I don't want to lose my job. I want to stay here in Chicago. I hope I can survive a coaching change because I want to be here next year. Please get me different coaches that can help me as a quarterback because the guys I have right now aren't working. That may not be a calculated thing he's saying, but that's how I'm interpreting it. If it was coming from Aaron Rodgers, I would say that is calculated, that is thought through, but this feels like a young man just kind of stumbling over the right words here. But I'm monumentally concerned about Justin Fields, and it's all bad in Chicago. I'm very, very worried. It's worth noting, by the way, that this past weekend we saw C.J. Stroud, the Houston Texans rookie quarterback, the number 2 overall pick. He threw for 384 yards in his second ever NFL start. Justin Fields is in year 3 and has never one time thrown for 300 yards as an NFL quarterback. It's, that's awful. And I know he's had games where he's had over 300 yards between rushing and throwing. He's run for a ton of yards and thrown for like 185 and gotten to 300 that way. But, oh boy, man. To me, we're seeing Justin regress. And I understand a lot of people probably want to blame Justin Fields, but the reality is there's just not very many human beings walking the earth who can run and throw and do the things he can do. I'm inclined to blame the coaching staff. When you see Justin Fields have receivers wide open and he's not pulling the trigger and instead trying to run and taking a sack, he's got too much going on in his head. And that's a product of the coaches talking to him and helping him through what's going on. He does not have the right people developing him and leading him and turning him into the quarterback he wants to be. I think he knows it. I think Bears fans are starting to realize that if they didn't already. And I am not ready to give up on Justin Fields. Again, there's just not a lot of him running around. You can go trade for Davis Mills to back up in Houston, correct, but there's a lot of guys like Davis Mills who can't run and are pocket quarterbacks with a solid to average arm. There's just not very many people who are physically capable of what Justin Fields can do running the football at the quarterback position. I think you got to keep working with him. I really want to see Justin Fields with a high-level, competent, awesome coach. Imagine this. Imagine if Justin Fields was coached by Mike McDaniel, the coach who's resurrecting to his career right now. Mike McDaniel would run a very different system if he had Justin Fields as his quarterback. Let's first acknowledge that. But he would work, I think. He would make Justin Fields feel confident because he did that with Tua. I think he would call plays that work for Justin Fields. He wouldn't have one designed quarterback run in an entire football game, and the only one, by the way, was a quarterback sneak. He would be using Justin in the running game. I so desperately want to see Justin Fields with a competent, awesome, dynamic offensive head coach who can help him reach his potential as a player. And right now, what we're seeing from Justin Fields as a player, not reaching their potential. And there is nothing more disappointing in the entire sports world than a really talented player not doing their best and not reaching their potential as a player. That is so frustrating and sad. Something's being left on the table here. And to me, in Chicago, the coaching staff is the problem. And, really as I talk through it, it just makes me appreciate Mike McDaniel in Miami that much more. He's a truly special, incredible, transcendent coach that I'm ride or die Mike McDaniel forever, man. He's a genius. He's a great coach. He knows how to work with players. He's personable. And like I said earlier, if you're a coach, your job is to design a system to put your players in a position to succeed. And then also, is a huge factor that doesn't get talked about enough. Your job is to make your players feel confident in their ability. You might say, well, Zach, you don't need to tell the best to be confident. Shut up. No. Every coach at every level should empower their players to feel good about their ability and feel like they are capable of success. That's part of coaching. Hey, building confidence, the people skills part of it. And I don't think Justin's getting that in Chicago, and that's a really big concerning problem. Woo, that was a lot. Now, the New Orleans Saints are 2-0, and in the first 2 games of the year, they were a defensive-led football team. They just took a blow to their defense. Safety in New Orleans, Marcus Maye, has been suspended for 3 games for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. This goes all the way back to a 2021 incident when he was still playing with the New York Jets. He got a DUI while playing then. But now it's kind of been resolved legally. We're getting the results. And so Marcus Maye has been suspended for 3 games. He will not play against Green Bay on the road this weekend. He won't play Tampa, and then he won't play at New England. So the New Orleans Saints will not have their defense in 3 kind of tough games coming up. Again, at Green Bay, against Tampa at home, and then at New England. All 3 to me are not easy football games, and not having your safety, that's a loss there. Like, Jordan Love is a really good quarterback who, man, he's been making plays all year long, and to not have one of your safeties in a big game against a good quarterback, that's a problem to me. All right, there's a moment I want to talk about. I'm not sure that I can find video of it. If I do, you'll see it on screen. If I can't find video of it, I'll just talk about it, and you'll have to look it up on your own. But there was a really rough moment for Green Bay Packers quarterback, actually, Jordan Love. We were just talking about him. Jordan Love tried a quarterback sneak. He got under center and ended up just like awkwardly falling forward. It looked really goofy and kind of funny. He got made fun of a lot on social media. Here's what happened here. For anyone who doesn't understand what's going on there, he's running a quarterback sneak. He's got his hands under center and using the silent count. The center didn't snap the ball. None of the offensive linemen moved because with the silent count, quarterback's not going, ready, set, hot. They're not doing any of that. They are just have their hand under center and you reach into like, how do I say this properly? Your center's, can I say it? Gooch, I guess, for lack of a better term, right? You put your hands deep in there and then you give a little nudge up. You use your top hand when you're getting the snap, and you push up on the lower extremities area to get the center to realize, oh, that's my signal. I got to snap the ball. That's how you run a silent count from under center. It's actually really simple. You just push up, and that's the moment the center goes, oh, I got to snap the ball. And something got lost in translation there, whether Jordan Love he started the motion of, falling forward to try to get the first down, but he didn't push hard enough up, I guess. The ball wasn't snapped. He just falls forward, and the quarterback starts really goofily falling forward. It was kind of a key moment in that football game. But for anyone who didn't understand how that happened, no, Jordan Love isn't an idiot. He's not some guy who has no idea how to play quarterback. It's just a weird mistake. I've never seen it before, but somehow lost in translation. He didn't push up hard enough with that top hand under center. Silent count didn't work. Ball wasn't snapped. He falls forward looking really goofy, but that's how you explain what happened there. It's that simple, and I just saw a lot of people clowning on Jordan Love and felt bad for him and wanted to help so people could understand what went on there. By the way, Jordan Love deserves a ton of respect, first of all. I mean, he's got 6 touchdowns this year. They're 1-1. They almost won in week 2 against Atlanta. A good Atlanta football team, by the way. Maybe not the best quarterback, but a really good defense there in Atlanta. Jordan Love has 6 touchdowns, 0 turnovers all year, and he hasn't even had his number 1 receiver, Christian Watson, playing this year. Kirk Cousins, the Vikings quarterback, has 4 turnovers this year. Jordan Love has 0. It's an amazing accomplishment, and I feel like it's not getting talked about enough. The Packers are very nearly 2-0. They're playing New Orleans this weekend at home. It's going to be a massive deal, and I just got to say, Jordan Love is fantastic. I really feel good about him. He's amazing, and I think we already are seeing this young quarterback blossom into a beautiful young player, and I just wish more people were receptive to that and aware of that. Jordan Love deserves so much credit, and I think that for a long time he got a lot of flack. The Packers got made fun of. Why would you draft him? What a horrible draft pick. Hey, I love Tom Grossi so much. Good for friend of mine, but he was not in favor of the Jordan Love draft pick. I'm sure he is now. I'm sure he loves the draft pick, man. Like, come on, guys. I remember when they drafted Jordan Love. I feel like I was the only person who was like, that's a genius draft pick. It's amazing. And what do you know? Years later, finally, after waiting for Rodgers to leave for a long time, we're seeing Jordan Love look really, really good as the new Packers starting quarterback. Hey, fun football moment. I want to share something really cool. Colts tight end Kylen Granson did something absolutely hilarious. He's in his 3rd year in the NFL. I want to give a shout out to John Boy Media. Love them. Talk to them behind the scenes. They're great. Their Instagram feed is why and I was able to see this. I wasn't aware of this till they posted it, but I wanted to reshare it. I'll put it on screen now. Made me laugh. It made me laugh. I thought when I first saw this photo or these photos, they were baby photos because I read the caption in the middle. It said, "After 3 years of trying, it's finally here." But Kylen Granson and his wife, by the way, wife or girlfriend, I'm not sure, but I think his wife, got together and took photos with a football as if it was like baby photos because it's a photo shoot with his touchdown ball, his first ever touchdown catch in the NFL. After 3 years, he did a photo shoot with it. And to me, that's just really funny, man. It took me a minute, then I realized it was a football. I was like, whoa, that's hilarious and great. I love that. Well done to Kylen Granson. All right, guys, we have a monumental weekend of football coming up. Incredible college football games, really good NFL games. Again, 2 Monday Night Football games, which I don't really love that. I don't really like having 2 Monday Night Football games happening at the same time, back to back. Although, again, I don't fully trust anything I felt about this weekend. Like emotionally this weekend, my head was on fire. I had the worst headache of my entire life. Really sick. I couldn't think. And so I think I said on Tuesday's episode, like, I don't know if the games are very good, but part of that's because I think I was just out of it. I really didn't feel like what was going on. And I didn't love having 2 games to watch on Monday. I was just like, my head hurts. I can barely think. So I don't know if that played a role. I'm hoping that we get great Monday Night Football games this week. Hopefully they're not defensive battles like we saw this past weekend. But either way, we are heading towards an absolutely incredible weekend of football all around. Let's start with this. I want to talk about NFL Week 3, kind of share my thoughts on every game coming up, what I think is interesting about them. Number 1, Cleveland plays Tennessee. And what I want to see from this football game, I want to see the Browns' offense improve after a rough Monday Night Football game against Pittsburgh. Deshaun Watson, their quarterback, had 3 turnovers. 2 of them went for an immediate touchdown to Pittsburgh. And Tennessee is well coached. They just beat the LA Chargers. That was a surprising victory to me. It's an interesting game. By the way, Tennessee, they're 1-1. They've played really good games, both games to start the year. And Cleveland is not safe. The onus is, Nick Chubb is out for the rest of the year. What kind of adjustments does Cleveland make on offense? I am hoping and praying they put more 4 wide receiver spreads, Deshaun Watson in the shotgun way more frequently. I would like to see that happen. We will see what goes down with Cleveland's offense against Tennessee. Atlanta plays at Detroit. This is a great game. 2 rookie running backs, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Bijan Robinson is going to be the star. Maybe this will be the game where Jahmyr Gibbs kind of breaks out and has a big play and a long touchdown, something like that. To me, though, what's really special about this football game between Atlanta and Detroit, both teams on offense and defense have a really good line. They are both really, really good up front on both sides of the football. Atlanta's 2-0, Detroit is 1-1. I think this game, Atlanta-Detroit, is a really special matchup with a lot of power running football, physical defense. It's going to be an outstanding, really good football game. New Orleans at Green Bay is really interesting. I can't wait to see Packers quarterback Jordan Love against that really good Saints defense. Now they're down to safety Marcus Maye. And then another question is, how does Derek Carr play against what I think is an underrated Green Bay Packers defense? It's a good game here, man. I think Jordan Love is actually, between Derek Carr and Jordan Love is actually the better quarterback. Man, guys, I think this game is going to be a really fun, hopefully a really special one on Sunday. Denver plays at Miami. The Broncos are 0-2. 0-3 feels very likely going into this football game. Miami, the Dolphins are 2-0. They look really good. And, man, I saw the Broncos defense struggle to slow down Washington last weekend. I don't know how they're going to stop Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, and this Dolphins team that, by the way, is running the ball really well as well. So I don't know what to expect from Denver's defense. I don't think it's going to be very good. What I will say, Denver's 0-2 right now. this is such an important game for Denver for how the rest of their year is going to go. 1-2 is very different from 0-3. And you've had 2 really close losses by a total of 3 points in the first 2 games. Denver's got to win here. I don't think they're going to, but it's a really big, really important game for Sean Payton as he tries to turn around this Denver Broncos football team, and it's currently not going great. How about the Chargers at Minnesota? Both teams are 0-2. Both games were lost by 1 score for both. So all 4 games that these 2 teams have played, the 4 games between the 2, all of them have been a 1-score loss. It's pretty wild. Minnesota and LA, they are underachieving in my opinion. The Chargers, though, are the team that I want to see win this football game for this fact. The Chargers have scored 58 points and have 0 turnovers all year long. I mean, they're a team that their offense is delivering. Their defense is actually the problem. Minnesota, the story has been turnovers, man. They're shooting themselves in the foot. And, if things stay the course, every game so far for these 2 teams this year has been a 1-score game. I would love a close, fun, intense, high-scoring game that comes down to the wire. I think it's very achievable, very possible. And, man, I don't know, man. I think that neither team can afford to lose. I think the Chargers probably win. And if the Chargers lose this football game as well, especially if the trend continues where they score a lot of points, have no turnovers, and still somehow they lose a football game, we're going to see the end of the road very soon for their head coach, Brandon Staley, in LA. The Patriots play the Jets in New York. The Patriots are 0-2. For them, here's a great opportunity to win if you're the Patriots, man. You're playing the Jets with Zach Wilson at quarterback. And I'm really curious to see how Mac Jones, the Patriots quarterback, does against a really good Jets defense. And the question is, can the Jets do enough to overcome Zach Wilson being their quarterback and win? I mean, can they slow down Mac Jones, maybe get a defensive touchdown or 2? We saw Pittsburgh last week with 2 defensive touchdowns on Monday night against a pretty solid Cleveland team do enough to win, where the Steelers' offense couldn't score points to save their lives. Like, they needed points in the entire second half. They only got 3 points on offense the entire rest of that game, but their defense came up clutch and got points when they needed them. I wonder if the Jets can do a similar thing against New England, but the Patriots are 0-2. They cannot afford to lose to the Jets with Zach Wilson on the road this weekend. Buffalo plays Washington. Washington is 2-0. Oh my goodness. And people want their team to get credit. They're like, oh, our offense looks great. We scored 35 points last week. Hey, I love it. Good job. But if you want respect, you got to go get it. Hey, go beat Buffalo. If Washington beats Buffalo this weekend, I will be the first one to go, did you see what happened? That's incredible. By the way, it's going to make Buffalo look really bad. They'd be 1-3 with a loss to the Jets in Buffalo. By the way, the Jets without Aaron Rodgers. But beating Buffalo would be massive for Washington. A 3-0 start. They've got a great defensive line, which to me, the Washington defensive line and the way their defense is built is actually reminiscent of what the Jets are doing on defense. And we saw when Josh Allen played the Jets, he had 4 turnovers week 1, 3 interceptions, and a fumble. Man, I think there's a chance. I'm not saying Washington wins this football game. I think they have a shot. I don't think they're going to win. But I'm rooting for Washington here. How cool would that be if Washington started the year 3-0 with a win over the Buffalo Bills? I mean, that would be huge. And, I'm not sure Washington's going to win, but I'm rooting for them here. That'd be really, really cool to see. Houston plays the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense did not score a touchdown last week against Kansas City. They had 3 field goals. This game against Houston is a great opportunity for the Jaguars to get on track offensively. Texans rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud is getting better, by the way. He had 384 passing yards last week against Indy. And so I think this could be a fun game. I don't think Houston wins, but what I want to see is the Jaguars get back on track offensively. They need to have some success and do well on offense to kind of get their season going after a kind of mediocre to disappointing loss against Kansas City last week in Jacksonville. I got to drink some water real quick. My mouth, my throat, not 100%, that's for sure. The Colts play the Ravens this week. And it's very likely that the Colts rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson, will not play. He got a concussion last week during week 2. The Ravens are 2-0. I think they're going to be 3-0 after this football game. What I want to see, we saw Indy last week give up 384 yards to a rookie quarterback, C.J. Stroud. I would love to see Lamar Jackson just go off on Indy, have a huge day passing. That would be great. I'm not sure that's what's going to happen. I've got Odell Beckham Jr. on my fantasy team. It's worth mentioning. I try not to talk about fantasy other than the rare times I do a fantasy episode once a week, but I have Odell Beckham Jr. on my bench because I'm not expecting much. I kind of have given up on him being a good fantasy player, but if there's ever going to be a time for him to have a big game, he's going to have a big game sitting on my bench, and we'll see what happens against Indy. Carolina plays at Seattle, and this feels like a great game. Bryce Young has been playing really well. Bryce Young made a throw last week on Monday night against New Orleans where he was rolling left on a bootleg and flipped his hips, made a great throw to, I forget who he was throwing to, but it's just a beautiful throw. I was like, that's a nice dime. I'm a big fan of what Seattle's been doing, just in general as a franchise. And these are two teams with young players in important key positions. I'm really curious about this football game. It should be fun. And I feel like, man, I just want this to be a great game. Carolina at Seattle, rookie quarterback, Geno Smith, young players everywhere. I hope it's awesome, man. That'd be so cool to see. Chicago plays at Kansas City. I could not feel worse about this game for Chicago. You're playing Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. By the way, Matt Nagy's the offensive coordinator in Kansas City. Remember him, Chicago? I'm sure you do. Matt Nagy's excited to wipe the floor with you. Does that rhyme? I think it does a little bit. I'm really curious how Justin Fields does this week. There's been a lot of struggles. He said some stuff in the media. I think Chicago gets their absolute, butts kicked, but I just want to see Justin Fields not be disappointingly bad. Can he just have some success? I don't need him to play great. Unfortunately, Kansas City's defense is one that does a lot of stuff up front. They're moving around a lot. They blitz from all kinds of different positions, and they're substituting players on and off the field. I mean, there's a lot going on to keep track of in Kansas City's defense. I worry that's going to be something Justin Fields really struggles with, actually. But one can hope. I mean, I want to see Justin Fields do well. I feel really, really in the dumps about Chicago this year. The Steelers at the Raiders is going to be Sunday Night Football this week. The crowd atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. Steelers fans, Raiders fans, all together in Vegas. Are you kidding me? It's going to be unbelievable. By the way, a primetime game too. I think that's awesome. The Steelers do not need to be any more primetime games for a while till they can show that they can play effective offense. But the Steelers need their offense and Kenny Pickett to look good and play well. Seriously. I mean, it's been a rough start to their year. Although they played the 49ers defense and then the Browns defense back-to-back to start the year. That's also not the easiest. The Raiders could win this one, though. Jimmy Garoppolo has looked pretty good in a Raiders uniform. Comfortable, like a good fit there. And this feels like a good matchup. This feels like it could be actually a really compelling, really good Sunday Night Football game. But the question is, can Kenny Pickett do anything other than kick a field goal and go 3 and out? I don't know. If Kenny Pickett plays well, this could be a really interesting, fun football game. Otherwise, I'm concerned. I mean, the Steelers can't run the ball either, so I just don't know what to expect from their offense. But I think my confidence is leading toward the Raiders here unless Pittsburgh can actually get something going on offense. Now, we got 2 Monday Night Football games this week. Once again, game number 1, the earlier game, is Philly at Tampa. Both teams are 2-0. Both teams have a good defense. Philly quarterback Jalen Hurts has kind of a slow start to the year. He's not been great early on. And I'm really curious how Baker Mayfield's going to play. I mean, Baker Mayfield has been playing really well. How does Baker Mayfield play against a really good Eagles defense? I am not sure. But Jalen Hurts, not great week 1 against Philly. Had a really ugly interception week 2 on Thursday night against Minnesota. But also Philly's coming off of kind of a long week. They've had a lot of time to prepare for this game, time to rest, time to get healthy. We'll see. Both teams are 2-0. This is going to be a really interesting and fun Monday Night Football game. But Baker Mayfield in the spotlight, baby. I love it. Love to see that. I'm excited for that. The later Monday Night Football game is the Rams at Cincinnati. It is a rematch of Super Bowl 56. And the Bengals are 0-2. Bengals are 0-2. The Rams are young, but their young guys look really good and are playing well. Puka Nacua, Kyren Williams. This actually could be a really good game. I'm really interested here what goes down with the Rams in Cincinnati. And it's interesting because Joe Burrow's been kind of slow to start the year. Is Joe Burrow playing? Let's look that up. I've heard so much conflicting stuff back and forth. Joe Burrow's playing, Joe Burrow's not playing. Let's just Google it right now, try to get the latest on Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow playing, we'll see. So Joe Burrow is preparing to play Monday, but it remains unknown whether he's going to actually play. I think he'll play. He's got a calf injury. They're 0-2. I don't see Joe Burrow not playing in a big moment in a primetime game against a Rams team that is definitely beatable with a Bengals team that has to get going. I mean, the Bengals need, if they're going to salvage their year at 0-2 right now, they need to win this football game and start winning football games in general. So I think Joe Burrow is going to play in this one, but we will see what goes down. Have you heard a lot of jangling, a lot of noise? That was me moving my cords around the microphone. The final game I haven't talked about yet, probably the least interesting game of the entire weekend. Tonight, the Giants go on the road and play the 49ers on Thursday Night Football, an Amazon Prime game. I expect a beatdown. The 49ers are looking like a 13-4, 14-3 team. They play like, who could they lose to? I mean, like, they play Cleveland, they play Dallas maybe, they play Philly. I mean, those are the three teams that are the best team on the schedule for the 49ers. And everybody slips up and loses a game you shouldn't win. You shouldn't lose, by the way. I mean, it just happens. You're going to lose to, like, some random team like Arizona or, I don't know, Carolina. So there's going to be some random loss the 49ers have where you're like, what happened? But every once in a while you have a bad day. It just will happen. But I mean, like, you look at the schedule for the 49ers and you're like, could they go 15-2? Who are they going to lose to? I mean, I think they're better than even the teams that are the toughest teams on their schedule. Certainly the 49ers are better than the Giants. And so I expect an ugly one. Saquon Barkley's not playing for the Giants. One thing worth noting that's kind of funny and sad, Giants quarterback Daniel Jones. We always talk about how Kirk Cousins is so bad in primetime. We got a new guy that's way worse. Daniel Jones, 1-10 all-time in primetime games. And interesting enough, both Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones started in the NFC East, a tough division, on weaker teams in that division. So regularly in that division, the NFC East, you're playing like Dallas or Philly in a primetime spot on national television. And Kirk played on a bad Washington team for a long time. Daniel Jones has played a lot of years on a bad Giants football team. And it feels like every time you put Daniel Jones in primetime, he's playing like a Super Bowl team. Lose to the Cowboys, 40-0 week 1. Now you're playing the 49ers. Like, can he get a break? I worry that Daniel Jones is going to get we might be watching like the funeral of Daniel Jones in this football game. Oh my gosh, he's going to get obliterated by that defensive line. I guess maybe that's the focus. Can Daniel Jones get out of this football game without getting horribly injured? That's really like all I'm looking for on this Thursday Night Football game between the 49ers and the Giants. All right, we have a massive weekend of college football as well. Probably, this is the best weekend of college football in weeks, months, years, a long time. The number one game I'm going to watch, it's the earliest game. I have these in mostly chronological order. I did put two games at the end that are not in chronological order that matter a little bit less. But there's 6 games I want to talk about. The top 4, and then there's 2 more. Number 4, Florida State plays at Clemson. That's the early game. I believe it's at noon East Coast time, 6 a.m. for me here in Hawaii. Florida State is 3-0. They beat LSU. Clemson lost to Duke. This is a very winnable game for Florida State. I am hoping we will see something from Clemson, that some kind of pulse, some kind of high-level play. They got a quarterback, Cade Klubnik, who doesn't look very good, doesn't look like a playmaker, doesn't look like there's anything special about him. You've got a Florida State team that is dynamic everywhere. This is either going to be a surprising game for Clemson or more likely kind of their burial, where we see the end of the Clemson dynasty on full display as they get obliterated by Florida State. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in this football game. It is at Clemson, though, so it'll be fun to watch. College football atmospheres are unmatched, man. I really... That's the one thing I felt watching games this past weekend is I've been watching a lot of college football, and it's so much more fun. I mean, college football, you got the band, you got the fans, you got people all in, really engaged, and I think the atmosphere in this football game, Florida State on the road in a tough environment at Clemson, is going to be really fun and really, really cool to see. Number 19, Colorado plays at number 10, Oregon. Oh my goodness. I grew up in Oregon. That stadium, Eugene Otson Stadium, is going to be loud. It's going to be fun. I played there a couple times. It was never loud for me because I was in high school, but my goodness. We'll see what happens, man. I have no idea what to expect here. Oregon is right now a 3-touchdown favorite. I believe last time that happened, though, Colorado beat TCU week 1. So, we will see. I mean, Oregon's not infallible. They dominated Portland State. Congratulations. I mean, Portland State's horrible. You beat Hawaii by a lot. They're also really bad. And Oregon, you look at Colorado. Colorado's coming off a sketchy win against Colorado State where they won in double overtime. But it's not like Oregon didn't struggle against Texas Tech. Oregon was on the road at Texas Tech a couple weeks ago, and they needed 20 points in the fourth quarter to win. They won 38-30. They needed a comeback. So Oregon stumbled against Texas Tech. I don't know, man. I feel like there's a greater chance of this being close than people realize, but my concern is the big boys, man. Does Colorado have enough guys up front to compete with Oregon? That's really the question. I have no idea, man. It would be so cool if Colorado beat Oregon on the road this weekend, but while that's what I'm hoping for, who knows what's going to happen? And I'm worried we're going into a Colorado embarrassment, but I'm hoping that's just not true, and I'm only guarding and protecting my heart from sadness. Now, number 15 Ole Miss plays on the road at number 13 Alabama. It's another big game in Tuscaloosa. Remember, last time Alabama played a big game, they lost to Texas at home. And I would love to see another former Alabama assistant, Lane Kiffin, go on the road and beat Alabama as well. A lot of people are talking about, is this the end of Nick Saban and the Alabama dynasty? Maybe. Even if they lose to Lane Kiffin, I'm not ready to throw that in the towel yet. They just don't have a very good quarterback in Alabama. Now, one piece of good news that makes me very happy after watching them, do flounder basically against South Florida this past weekend. Alabama's going back to quarterback Jalen Milroe as their starting quarterback. That's the right move to me. Well done. Round of applause. Jalen Milroe is not a very developed passer. He's still learning. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make boneheaded, head-scratching throws where you're like, what are you doing, kid? No! Like, I can just hear Alabama fans yelling at their TV, no! Like, watching the game on Saturday. However, what Jalen Milroe can do is something other quarterbacks on that roster cannot. He's got a dynamic ability to run the football. He's a great athlete. He also has got a really great deep ball. So the rare times where you play man-to-man coverage against Alabama's really talented wide receivers, he's going to make a great throw and probably beat you. So for all of the concerns with Jalen Milroe's ability, at least he's really talented and can make a big play when you need it. You just got to dial. Do not overcomplicate stuff when it comes to play calling, man. I think we're going to see conservative stuff, but run with Jalen Milroe a bunch. Find ways to generate man coverage or one-on-one coverage. I mean, like, for example, cover 4 if you run all the way downfield, it just turns into man coverage anyway. Like the things you can manipulate even a zone defense to make it a one-on-one situation. And Jalen Milroe throwing deep balls in a one-on-one situation to a receiver, that's a high percentage win for Alabama. So that's what I want to see from Alabama's offense is can they create one-on-one matchups deep downfield, and can they have Jalen Milroe run the ball a lot really well? But Lane Kiffin certainly has a great opportunity here, a window of opportunity. There's a door open for Nick Saban to go on the road at Alabama, beat Nick Saban. And one thing, I love Lane Kiffin, man. Lane Kiffin is, how do I say this, man? An entertainer. He's really a fun character in college football. I think he almost gets way too much hate. And I'll say this, man. Lane Kiffin, from what I've seen, has always been very respectful of Nick Saban, Alabama, appreciative of the opportunity they gave him, elevating him, getting him back to being a head coach in college football. I think, there's a lot of respect here between Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban, and I don't think that gets talked about enough. At least Lane Kiffin really admires and respects Nick Saban, but it would be so cool to watch Lane Kiffin beat Nick Saban. As you dominate college football for years and years, you become a target. And people enjoy watching you lose. And right now, that's what Alabama's doing right now. And, I don't know. Now, to me, if you ask me, Zach Schaumler, the number one game this weekend is Colorado at Oregon. I'm like a pseudo-Colorado fan. I can't wait to see what happens. But I know I'm in the majority. I'm in the minority. Most people, like the SEC people, are going to watch Ole Miss, Alabama. And then everyone else, the most exciting game to them, I would imagine, is number 6, Ohio State, at number 9, Notre Dame. College game day is there. This is going to be a massive, massive football game. I can't wait, man. Notre Dame quarterback Sam Hartman is really cool, man. He's a Heisman Trophy candidate. I love the dude. He fits. He really does fit in well with Notre Dame. He's classy. He's respectful. There's a video of him after they beat NC State a couple weeks ago. He wanted to pump up the Notre Dame sideline as he left. He wanted to be pump up the crowd as he ran into the tunnel. But he waited. He waited until NC State was finishing with their alma mater song. When they were done, then he went up over to his crowd and went, yeah, and pumped him up and then ran out into the tunnel. It's little details like that where he just really fits their culture. He's respectful. He's kind. He's a good leader. I find him compelling and awesome. And he's a borderline NFL quarterback, man. I'm really curious about Sam Hartman. I can't wait to watch him play a really good football team like Ohio State. Remember, a lot of people have said, this Notre Dame team is the best team in a long time. I said, maybe. Let's wait till they play somebody legit. And the moment has come. We get to watch Notre Dame host Ohio State game at Notre Dame. It's going to be really fun. By the way, this is my first time getting to watch Ohio State's new quarterback, Kyle McCord. So, I think this game, probably the game of the weekend, frankly. If Colorado's a miss and Alabama, Mississippi's not very good, this one for sure, Ohio State at Notre Dame, is going to be a fantastic, amazing football game. We got 2 more I want to talk about. Number 14, Oregon State plays at number 21, Washington State in Pullman. Went to school there. What's up? Go Cougs. It's going to be a good game. DJ Uiagalelei against a quarterback that I've said his name so much. Cam Ward is a quarterback that you got to pay attention to. Cam Ward, I love this guy, man. He can run like Patrick Mahomes. He can make plays outside the pocket. He's got a massive arm that nobody talks about. He's got so much arm strength, it's crazy. I think it's an NFL franchise quarterback, and nobody seems to pay attention or care. To me, these are the 2 leftover Pac-12 schools. Nobody seems to want them. People would rather have Cal and Stanford than Oregon State and Washington State, who are both ranked in the top 25. They're going to be playing each other. It's going to be a fun battle in Pullman. I think Oregon State probably wins. I mean, they've got a really good offensive line. They're going to run the ball well. But the X factor here is Cam Ward. I mean, Cam Ward, DJ Uiagalelei is not the dynamic playmaker that Cam Ward is. Cam Ward can run. He can throw. He can turn a 3rd and 18 into a touchdown. I mean, he really is that kind of level playmaker. And, man, I think that it's going to be, you want a good game, it's fun to watch. Find a way to watch Oregon State at Washington State this weekend. It's going to be a really compelling, exciting, fun football game. There's one more game I want to talk about. I can't tell if I'm talking about it because it's actually an interesting, good game, or just because Fox's big noon kickoff is there, or just because I love the city of Cincinnati, which I really do. I love, love, love Cincinnati. And if I was very rich, I would own a house there. I would own a house here in Hawaii. I would own a house in Cincinnati. And I'd probably own a house somewhere in the Northwest near my family. I absolutely love Cincinnati. Beautiful city, great people. The UC area is really cool. Great bars in that area. I just love the people of Cincinnati so very much. I'm happy for them. And number 16, Oklahoma, plays on the road at Cincinnati this weekend. Oklahoma's 3-0, Cincinnati's 2-1. You know, it's definitely the least compelling game of all the games I listed, but it's one that I'm just going to keep my eye on. I'm interested what happens in this game between Oklahoma and Cincinnati. Let's recap, though. Florida State at Clemson, amazing. Colorado at Oregon, amazing. Mississippi, Ole Miss at Alabama, amazing. And then Ohio State at Notre Dame, are you kidding me? Not to mention, if you want a great Pac-12 game, watch Oregon State at Washington State. This is going to be, man, there's not a lot of college football weekends like this. Usually there's like a game or two that's really good, then a couple blowouts, and then like a surprising upset. It's very rare going into a college football weekend that there's 5 amazing football games on top of, we always know there's going to be some crazy upset. There's going to be some crazy game that comes out of nowhere. None of the games I mentioned are probably, there's going to be games I didn't even talk about. They're going to be like shocking and surprising and fun. So I think this is going to be a truly epic and unbelievable weekend of college football. I cannot wait to see what happens, and I can't wait to talk about it. I think Saturday night, Hawaii time. All right. We got 6 questions from the audience I want to end the show with today. You know, it's weird. I've been going and my mouth feels weird. Like I don't know, my throat's messed up. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm just going to carry on. I feel like I could take a break, but I don't need to cough. And as a guy who's been coughing endlessly for, 5-6 days in a row, it's really weird and nice to not be. Today's the first day where I didn't wake up feeling like I needed to just hack up a lung, which I love to say that. Let's be very clear about this. If you want to support the show, if you want to help me, Zach Schaumler, make a better Strong Opinion Sports, frankly, if you want to see the show carry on and continue and be a product you can listen to, you got to go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It is the number one way you can support the show. You donate $1 a month. You can donate more if you want to. Please do. It literally does pay my rent. But $1 a month gives you access to submit questions on Patreon. Now, if you submit a question on Patreon, my only guarantee is I look at every single question with my eyeballs and I pick the top couple to read on the show. Now, I do not guarantee to read your question on the show. My only guarantee, again, I look at everything with these 2 pearly whites, my blue eyeballs, and I look at them, I read them. I pick the top couple, I do read them on the show, and frankly, I get to basically every question ever submitted to Strong Opinion Sports. I'm really proud of my rate on. I read so many questions at the end of every week. We got 6 today, a lot more tomorrow. I had one from George about my road trip in my truck. I ended up moving that to tomorrow because we're short on time, and I want to get this out before the NFL game on Thursday night. But Luke writes in first. Let me find my notes file with my questions. Luke writes in and says, oh, come on, let's load. There we go. Luke says, hey, Zach, with the Pac-12 conference being basically left for dead, there's been tons of moves like USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington moving to the Big Ten, in addition to Oklahoma and Texas leaving for the SEC. I feel like these moves are being made for the sake of money or TV deals without any regard for the athletes involved. For example, is anyone a little weirded out by the UCLA being in the same conference as Rutgers and traveling all the way to New Jersey or vice versa? It feels like these athletes don't win here. What say you? I got a thing I want to talk about in a second. First of all, college football at this level, yeah, a lot of people don't understand. You're not a student, man. Like, you can't say this. It sucks, but you're a professional athlete who's able to get a degree for free. I mean, that's really like where we're at this point. You're not taking school very seriously. A lot of my friends play college football, and it's a joke, man. It's really like at the highest level of college football. The guys that I talk to behind the scenes, man, they're not even focused on their life after football. Football's their job. It's their everything, and they're trying to get a degree out of it, I guess, so they can do something afterwards. But I have to talk to so many, be like, hey, please get a degree. I never got a degree, and your life is more difficult when you do not have a college degree. And so when you're playing football at UCLA, there is no cares about you flying on a Friday across the country to play Rutgers, and you got a test due. They're like, hey, every school's all online. You got all these aides and assistants helping you. That sucks, but that's true. And that's why a lot of guys finish college football with a degree but have no skills that are valuable in the workplace because they didn't really go to college. They just got a piece of paper that says degree on it. And that's why, like, the guys I talk to, I'm like, hey, man, make sure you're learning stuff in football, because all the things I use in my job and my everyday life are the lessons I learned during football. Like, you can learn so much about life, and you can market the skills you gained during football and the lessons you learned during football on a job application and a job interview so easily. Now, Luke, I want to say, what weirds me out the very most is that Cal and Stanford are going to the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference. Do you know where Cal and Stanford are? Berkeley and Palo Alto, the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay, on the Pacific Ocean. And they're going to be playing in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I hate how much that makes no sense. I despise that completely. And a tangent I want to go on here. If I was at Oregon State or Washington State, I would be so offended and so angry. Nobody seems to want them. And I get it. I went to Washington State. I am one of the rare people who attended Washington State who isn't delusional. Like, when I went there, I was there with Gardner Minshew, and people were saying, we want Alabama. And I'm like, you're insane. You're going to get your butts killed. You're nowhere near Alabama. But people don't realize. They live in their little bubble, and they think their world is the best thing ever. And I understand why Washington State and Oregon State, they're not nationally relevant. But are you kidding me about this? Oregon State and Washington State are both 3-0. They are in the top 25, nationally ranked. They have dominated the Mountain West schools. A lot of people say Oregon State and Washington State are going to go to the Mountain West. I'm like, are they? They're way better than... That's a step down for them. It's going to hurt them in recruiting. They're better off being independent, probably, playing a lot of Mountain West games. But I think at this point, if you're Oregon State or Washington State, you just play an independent schedule, because I don't know the benefits of playing in the Mountain West. I think it's going to make you look from a recruiting standpoint like a lesser program. And Washington State beat Colorado State, a Mountain West school, 50-24. Oregon State beat San Diego State 26-9. They beat San Jose State 42-17. These teams, Oregon State and Washington State, are winning and playing at a really high level. In comparison, Cal struggled against Idaho. I've been to Idaho. I've been to their dinky little stadium. I know Moscow, Idaho really well. I've dated girls there. I've slept there a lot. They're an FCS program. There should never be a world where Cal barely beats Idaho. 31-17 against Idaho? What? That should be a game you win 55-10. No, like, I don't understand. I think people don't realize how dinky and bad Idaho is. Stanford is 1-2. Stanford lost to Sacramento State, a D1 AA Big Sky program. Stanford lost to Sacramento State 30-23. How can this be that that's a program nationally people want? By the way, Stanford lost to USC 56-10. Yet somehow the ACC wants Stanford and Cal. Ooh, the prestigious really good academic schools that no one can get into, and they're going to be horrible. And I don't know what they bring to your program financially, like as prestige of their good universities, I guess. That's valuable somehow. But, man, if I was Oregon State and Washington State, I'd be furious because unlike Cal and Stanford, they've been invested in football. They've been trying to win. They have been winning, and they're not getting rewarded for it. And just it sucks, man. I feel bad for Oregon State and Washington State. I'm not a Washington State fan. In fact, I hated going to school there. I had a bad, I had a bad attitude, and I didn't like how delusional football fans were. But I feel like when it comes time to stand up for them, it's just sad to see what's happening to them. Their quarterback, Cam Ward, really is special and incredible, and that they're doing great stuff. They're a top 25 program. They're 3-0, and nobody wants them, and that's sad for them. Dustin writes in. Dustin says, "Hello, Captain Zach Sparrow." Captain Zach Sparrow. I completely love that. Dustin says, "A month ago you mentioned that the AFC East was the best division in football. Now that Aaron is out for the rest of the year, and the Bills didn't look good week 1, do you still believe that it is the best division? If not, what division in the NFL do you think is the best?" Personally, I think that the NFC East is better, but I'm probably biased. I'm a Cowboys fan. I've been following your channel for a few years now, and I've always loved your work. Please keep it up. Thank you, Dustin. I love you. Appreciate you, man. I said before the year started, I thought it was either the AFC East or the AFC North. And I thought anyway it was still the AFC North because they had what I thought was a really good Browns team with an offense that was going to be dynamic and incredible. We'll see about that. I thought the Steelers were going to go, 8-9, 9-8, be a good football team, but not a playoff team. We'll see about that. But I thought that the Ravens were really good and the Bengals were going to be, good. And I think the Bengals still are better than their 0-2 start. But I was really high on the AFC North. That's kind of been pulled back down to earth. Maybe it is the NFC East. The NFC East has Dallas, who look like a Super Bowl team, frankly. Philly's really good. Washington is 2-0. The Giants are, the Giants are the Giants. They're not that great. But what we've learned, I think, really quickly is that there is no perfect division in football. There is no division with 4 really great football teams. The Patriots are suspect in the AFC East. The Jets don't have a quarterback. In the AFC North, Kenny Pickett's a disaster, and the Browns have a quarterback problem. I think their offense, they're running the wrong system for him. By the way, people have said that Deshaun Watson's paid that much money. Shouldn't he be so great he can run any system you want? It's idiotic. It's just stupid. No matter who you are, you have to build an offense to fit your player skill set. Even Patrick Mahomes needs an offense that fits him. He's probably the most versatile quarterback of any quarterback in the NFL, but I can't believe people would say that. The ignorance that takes is silly to me. But we're learning that I thought there might be this year, a couple divisions in the NFL with 4 really great football teams. I thought the AFC East had a shot with Miami, Aaron Rodgers, and the Jets. The Patriots thought were going to be better than they look. And the Bills, they've got the Bills and Miami right now look really good. And we'll see if, the Patriots can step it up. They're 0-2 right now. The AFC North doesn't look as good as I thought it was. Just top to bottom, there isn't really an NFL division that has 4 great football teams. Every division has a really dominant football team, maybe 2, a third decent team, and then a bad team. Every division has a bad team right now in their division, and I think that's really the weakness of my early predictions for the NFL season. I had these 2 divisions with 4 great football teams, and there just isn't that across the NFL. There isn't 4 great teams in any NFL division. Justin writes in. Justin says, "Guten Tag, Zach. First, I just want to say, as a Cardinals fan, I also believe they are tanking. I'm surprised many other fans are going after you for that stance. But for my question, I want to know how you feel about Matthew Stafford this year. He looked solid week 1 and was connecting with his receivers. I feel like we might see the return of Lions Matthew Stafford, where The team might not be the best, but he has great numbers, and I wanted your thoughts, especially since we will see the recap of his season in quarterback season 2. Side note, you should give the Yakuza games a chance if you haven't. Keep on keeping on. I think I've got one of the Yakuza games on Xbox Games with Gold over the years. Like, I don't have either PlayStation Plus or Games with Gold, but Games with Gold, if you got a game from them, it seems like they just let you have the game. Where PlayStation Plus, if you don't keep paying for PlayStation Plus, you lose access to those games. So unless you pay for it again, then you can have the access back. But I've been playing GTA 3 on my Switch while I was sick. Really fun. Difficult, by the way. Some of the stuff you need doesn't load quickly enough in the Switch, which is what it is. Like there's a mission, Trial by Fire, where you got to kill a bunch of triad guys with a flamethrower, and I had to do a bunch of stuff with the graphic settings to get people literally to load in so I could get them fast enough. And I don't believe Matthew Stafford is actually in quarterback season 2. I looked for information on that. I'm like, does he know something I don't? And Justin, I think, in fact, from what I saw, Matthew Stafford's wife, Kelly Stafford, went out of her way to say he's not doing quarterback season 2. So I don't know what you saw that made you believe that, but as far as I know, we have no confirmation who those 3 quarterbacks are going to be for quarterback season 2. So, yeah, I don't know. What I will say about Matthew Stafford, I think, was way more hurt than I realized last year. Like going into the year even, because he was coming back from that elbow injury and elbow, shoulder, whatever it was. He had like an arm injury on his throwing arm. He was barely throwing in training camp. Then he got hurt midseason. They had a bad year. And yeah, Matthew Stafford's pretty dang good. Like we are seeing in the first 2 weeks, I saw Matthew Stafford play against the 49ers, and I was like, yo, it's a lot of big-time throws. And Puka Nacua is the guy that really stands out to me. Puka Nacua, 5th-round receiver out of BYU. He's a rookie. First 2 games of his NFL career, he's got 25 catches for 266 yards. And Puka Nacua, what I think isn't getting talked about. Okay, I keep seeing videos of Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins wide receiver, saying like, "Oh yeah, I don't watch any film." He's lying to you. It's a joke. Every NFL receiver watches film. You have to. It is so difficult in the NFL to run routes because you have to read coverages and adjust your route based on the coverage. Puka Nacua is doing that. There are a lot of times where he's got an option route. He's going to sit down in the middle of the field or keep running or running out or slant in. And Puka Nacua is reading coverages really, really well. Part of what makes Cooper Kupp really good is that Matthew Stafford knows exactly where he's going to be based on the coverage. And Puka Nacua is stepping into that role really well and doing that exactly. And that's a difficult thing. A lot of times when you're a young receiver coming to the NFL, the hardest thing to learn is that the route that's called on the play sheet isn't like college where it's a static route. I'm doing the same thing I would do no matter what. It's like, no, you got a variation of every route is slightly varied depending on the coverage you're running. Oh yeah, by the way, there's all this nuance where I saw Calvin Ridley run a beautiful route this past weekend where it was like a 12-yard curl, but he attacked the blind side and went like outside release, then started working, and as the defender turns his back, he started working inside against the other blind side, which got the corner really nervous. Then the corner takes 6 more steps by the time Calvin Ridley's broken down and runs his curl route. He just badly beat the corner. And my point is there's all this nuance and stuff going on when you run an NFL route. Like, not only are you just running your route, but you're also doing it in a way that makes the corner uncomfortable and turns their back to beat them. Your quarterback has to know that, so their timing is accurate. Plus, also, depending on the coverage, your route could be a totally different thing than even what the play calls for. So there's a lot going on there. Puka Nacua looks fantastic running routes. Kyren Williams, the second-year running back for the Rams, against the 49ers, had 14 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown, plus 6 catches for 48 yards and another touchdown, so a total of 20 touches for 100 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyren Williams is awesome. Puka Nacua is awesome. And so Matthew Stafford, I guess what I'm saying is, has got talented, smart, young players all around him. They got a great coaching staff in LA. It makes me want to go work for the Rams. Like, I would love to be in that environment, whether I'm doing video or I'm just some film jockey. Like, I would love to be in that building. It just looks like so much fun to be a part of, frankly, like the football mecca that Sean McVay is built. And I can't believe that I thought they were going to be awful. I mean, I will never doubt Sean McVay again. His coaching's incredible. The way they develop young talent is blowing my mind. And Matthew Stafford is making big-time throws. I'm not a Rams fan. I'm a Sean McVay fan, though. And gosh, I love what they're doing in L.A. Okay, I got to drink water for this one. We got 3 questions left. SempeRick writes in. SempeRick, I got so many questions about your name. Is that a reference to Semper Fi? Like SempeRick? Semper Fi? I don't know. SempeRick, maybe? But no, it's definitely Rick. Or maybe it's Sempe like Tempe. So I have no idea what your name is, but I'd love to know the backstory of your username. That's interesting. SempeRick. Maybe it's just Rick Sempe. Maybe that's your last name. I have no idea. So Rick writes in and says, "Hey, Zach, you were a quarterback at a pretty high level since you did it a bit in college. What do you think is the hardest part of being a quarterback? There is so much that goes into being a quarterback, such as memorizing plays, being aware of the situation in game with the clock and score, then reacting in the right way with the right reads while subconsciously moving around in the pocket. Personally, I would never have been able to play quarterback because of how much is going on at once, but I am the type to lower the sound of the music when I got to focus on where I'm going while driving, LOL." I loved it, man. I enjoy tense, stressful situations. You mentioned it. I have a bunch of notes here on the hardest things about quarterback, but you're right. The other thing I hadn't even had in my notes is like, as a quarterback, you have to know how to handle every situation. Don't take a sack on the goal line in a 2-minute drill. Get the ball out of bounds or throw it away. You got to be smart. Don't throw the ball into harm's way. Throw it away. Avoid a sack. There's so many little things you have to manage. Just play to play, like being disciplined with your decision making. But on top of that, you got to manage your teammates and encourage them. You're viewed as and expected to be a leader on the football team. You have to not only know every play in the playbook, but you have to know why your coach is calling the play. You want to know the offense so well that when a concept is called, you understand the objective of the concept based on the defense that they're running and be on the same wavelength. Like, oh, he's calling this because they're a man coverage and we're trying to get this matchup here. And if that's not going there, I'm going to go back to this other side and find that. I mean, there's so much going on play to play, but also you got to be in the huddle calling the plays where you're in charge, but also calm and controlled. And there's a balance there between like yelling dictator, but also not sounding stressed. And so then pre-snap, you got to find the safeties. What are the safeties doing pre-snap? What do I think the coverage is? As you snap the ball, verifying, yeah, it is cover 3 like I thought it was. There's one high safety, one guy's rocking down. There's 2 corners dropping like I thought. It is cover 3. The flat route's probably open. You got to understand, is the defense blitzing? And, I mean, that's a huge thing young quarterbacks really struggle with, is being aware of when pressure comes. And then not only is pressure coming, we can't block that guy. I got to get rid of the ball. And I can't panic because the reality is when they blitz and bring extra defenders after the quarterback, it means you got matchups outside that are favorable, whether it's one-on-one coverage or sometimes even just a guy, like in high school or college at lower levels, they'll just leave guys uncovered. And if you find the right matchup, you got a wide open completion, but you're going to get drilled and leveled as you throw the football. You have to manage all your emotions as you deal with all of this. You throw a pick, you got to chill. You're going to get hit, you got to relax. You got to handle all of that really well. Oh, by the way, are you lined up properly? Like, I'm focused on the defense, where the safeties, who's blitzing, what's happening, what coverage do I think it is? I snap the ball, we're in the right coverage. Oh, but before I snap the ball, hey, tight end, you got to be off the ball. What are you doing? Oh, receiver, tighten down. Come in motion. What are you doing? Running back's on the wrong side, got to change the protection. You're thinking about 1,000 things before the snap. I mean, that's why it's so fun. Playing quarterback is, it's the ultimate game of strategy. I love, I play chess. I love tactical RPGs. Anything that has strategy, I love strategy games. And football is the ultimate game of strategy. I think I did that part really well. I was good at managing my emotions. I was good in a 2-minute drill. I handled the decision-making and that stuff right. The thing I wasn't very good at was the physical things. I could never run very fast. I was not very big because there's physical requirements. You got to be able to run the football. You got to make every throw. I mean, there are On top of everything else I just listed, there's all these physical requirements to play quarterback on top of that. And to me, I think quarterback is the most difficult thing you can do on the planet. It's a beautiful position when it's done at a high level and done well. And, I acknowledge college football has a way more fun game day atmosphere than the NFL. It's just undeniable to me. But the reason why I am obsessed with and love the NFL is that occasionally you get quarterback play at the highest level in the entire world. And sometimes you see games that are frustrating and embarrassing, like Monday night between Cleveland and Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson was just frustrating and awful. But then you watch Patrick Mahomes play and you're like, man, this is it. This is why I do everything I do, is for the moment getting to watch Patrick Mahomes just be transcendent and better than anything we've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, that's like truly special. And I get so much hate and criticism, and I try to let it just roll off my back like a duck. It bothers me a little bit, but I think I always try to be a nice guy. I do my job. I try to be good, but at the heart of everything I do, the reality is I just love football. Like I really, really love football. And on top of that, more importantly, I love playing quarterback. I miss it. I want to play flag football or something. I need some way to get an outlet of my love for playing the quarterback position. I love the feeling of throwing a spiral. I miss reading a defense. I miss that these pre-snap decisions I miss when that mattered, And when you're an adult, you just can't ever get that ever again. It just never again in any time of your life can you get that moment where you're in the shotgun, finding where the safeties are, figuring out who's coming after the quarterback, making sure my receivers are lined up properly, understanding the play, understanding why the play was called, making sure our protection is right. Oh, yeah, by the way, the clock is ticking. You got to snap the ball in like 5 seconds. All right, we're lined up. We're good. Snap the ball. What does the safety do? He's rocking down. Oh, man, it's cover one. You got man coverage outside. Throw a back shoulder fade down the left sideline. Like that kind of stuff is what it's so fun. And I miss it so much. It's fun. It's difficult. There's even more going on at an NFL level. It's crazy. And I would go. I mean, gosh. I would give it. I wish I could have been 6'5". I mean, I frankly I'm 5'11" and a very average athlete. I think maybe if I'd had the understanding that I learned too late that you have to run the football, I viewed myself as like Tom Brady, and I was a better athlete than I get myself credit for, and I should have trained more as like a running quarterback, and that would have probably helped me get to a little bit higher level of football, but. You don't know what you don't know, and I miss it every day, man. I'd love to go back. I'd love to practice again, man. Like meaningful football where you're checking the play and making sure we're lined up properly. Like that little stuff is so fun, and you can't ever get it back. And I miss it so much. Joe writes in. Joe says, "Hey, Zach Reacher, that's a great one." Zach Reacher, baby. That's awesome. Your favorite unhinged, salty, and enraged Chargers fan here. Welcome, Joe. Good to see you again. I thought today I was going to sit on my couch and watch my Chargers swiftly take down a struggling Tennessee Titans team that are struggling to find an identity, but boy, was I wrong. I didn't think it was possible for our defense to get worse, but the disgusting heathen commonly known as Brandon Staley will never cease to amaze me. Our offense had some speed bumps with Austin Eckler being out, but overall we still had a decent showing in my opinion. But the Titans could have brought in a local peewee team and they still could have put up 20 points on this horribly schemed, rancid defense. Last week, yes, I was joking about the public execution of Brandon Staley, but not being able to slow down one of the most boring, predictable offenses in the NFL. Zach, I don't know how much longer it will stay a joke. For legal reasons, I'm kidding. I also want to add that I agree with you. Brandon Staley is a great man with a set of values that I hold as well. He's a great motivator and leader, but in that case, give him a skirt and pom-poms so he can do what he's good at without influencing the game. I still believe that he's a Nathaniel Hackett of defensive coaching and shouldn't even be on a high school field. Okay, dude, he should be a high school head coach. He'd be great at that. He'd be a college coach. He'd be awesome at like the Division II level. Brandon Staley, Division II college coach, would be fantastic. I don't know if he could recruit at a high level D1 level, but we'll see. Joe wrote in, Balin wrote in. I got a lot of write-ins on Patreon. I chose Joe's because it was the most like animated and interesting and fun. And I think every week Balin and Joe are going to write in with their pain. I mean, this week Balin wrote in on Patreon just pain, pain, sadness, sadness, Chargers lost. I think that was like literally exactly what he wrote in, something like that. The LA Chargers have scored 58 points in 2 weeks. The offense has 0 turnovers, and somehow still, without turning over the football one time on offense, without, scoring 58 points in 2 games, somehow still, the LA Chargers are 0-2. And you've got a defensive head coach with star players on defense, and their defense is the problem. I'll tell you what, it's not the offense. They're not losing games because they're not scoring enough. They're not losing games because they're turning over the football. They're losing games because they can't stop anybody on defense. And it's bad. It's very bad. It's very, very bad. So I think it says enough there, right? Like you can't win with 58 points in 2 weeks and no turnovers. That's a defensive problem, and you got a defensive head coach who I think very soon is going to be. It's sad because I like him, man, but he's not doing well as a head coach. Not good enough. My goodness, I just got word. I was going to read the one final question, but we got to talk about this right now. This is going to change the season for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys believe that in practice, Trevon Diggs, their star corner, suffered a torn ACL. I'm literally just breaking news just popped on my screen right now. Well, that's going to ruin everything. Frankly, I think the Cowboys have been the best defense in the NFL all year because they've got an incredible pass rush to make opposing quarterbacks struggle. And then on top of that, they've got 2 corners, Trevon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore, who can stay step for step with basically any receiver in the NFL. And if the quarterback is even slightly off, they're going to make him pay and get an interception. Trevon Diggs is out, man. 2 games into the year. Pain. That's really sad, man. I'm so sorry, Trevon Diggs. I never believed the Cowboys were going to win a Super Bowl this year because I think their coach is going to hold them back. But I've been open to, he's now the play caller. Mike McCarthy is there in Dallas, and I've had an open mind, and they're 2-0 right now. And they're still going to be a really good defense, but they were the best defense in football, who now needs a new corner. And that's, man, I'm sad for him. I'm sad for the team. I'm sad for Cowboys fans. That's a brutal loss. And I thought up until this moment, the Cowboys defense was the very best defense in the NFL. And maybe they still can be, but it's a big loss, losing your corner. I wish they could have lost like a linebacker or something, some random if they lost, Leighton Vander Esch would have not been a fun thing to lose. Like, he's a great player, but I would have rather Leighton Vander Esch gotten hurt than Trevon Diggs. Your corners and the NFL and the passing game, it's everything. And, it's very possible that they'll still be successful because they've got a great pass rush. Maybe another corner can step in and, take advantage of the opportunities given to him by their pass rush, forcing bad throws. But that's still really, really a painful, tough loss. Last question of the day today, write-in really, is from Eber. Eber says, "Hey, Zachary, Daiquiri, Doc, the mouse ran up the clock." I love that. Eber says, "I disagree with your take about Thursday Night Football on Prime. I understand it being streaming only is annoying. What I do like is that the Prime version..." Whoa. He says, "I do like the Prime Vision alternate broadcast. It shows the entire game from a different angle, kind of like the All-22, showing all the receivers running their routes instead of zoning in on quarterbacks like most broadcasts. I wish this would be adopted by every broadcast. It is such a more enjoyable way to consume the game for a casual fan like me who doesn't have time to watch the All-22 but still wants to see when Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill comes open downfield instead of just watching the quarterback scrambling around in the backfield. The NFL on Prime has its problems. I believe they have innovated... And the NFL on Prime has their problems, but I believe they have innovated and produced a new way of broadcasting football, which is unique as far as I can tell, that I appreciate very much. Thanks for producing great content for us every week. Have a good one, bro. Eber." Thank you, Eber. I somehow didn't know about this, so good luck. Tonight, I'm going to watch, what is it called? Prime Vision, the alternate broadcast. I'm going to watch that. That sounds really interesting. And so I'll be watching that way tonight when I watch the game on Thursday Night Football. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. I got a lot to edit. You believe it or not, that Justin Fields segment took me way longer than you would even imagine, with me stumbling over my words and having to cut in clips and stuff. So I love you. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day. I will see you actually probably a couple hours because I'm going to do another episode today before Thursday night. So I love you. Appreciate you. Have a great day. And bam, we are done.